So, um, again, thank you. It's an honor to be able to talk with you. Um, at first, I guess we have a little bit of business. You've been, despite your young age, you're 39 years old, I'm sure. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been very busy. So, one of your team members wanted me to begin just by asking, how does the concept of be here now, which many of us are familiar with, how does that connect with your current theme of loving awareness? Maybe you could explain what both of those are and how they connect.
Well, if we were we were in the moment, just deeper and deeper in the moment. We go beyond time and space, and we and that the spiritual heart, that's the way that can get down. And we move from the ego to the spiritual heart. We go by calling the spiritual heart loving awareness. So we start from here, from ego, and say, I'm loving awareness, I am loving awareness, I am loving awareness, I'm loving awareness.
So is that like a meditation practice or some sort of practice we can do?
It's a some type of practice, yeah.
Yeah.
This is all bhakti yoga.
And so that refers to devotion, is that correct? So I grew up in the, as you know, in the Buddhist tradition, and Trungpa Rinpoche, who I know loved you very much, would often say that spirituality isn't some sort of foreign, esoteric, fancy thing. It's very practical, and it's very immediate. Be here now is nothing's more immediate than that. Yeah. So I think it's important for people who watch this video to understand you're not talking about some philosophy or something out there. It's very applicable to our daily lives.
You're right. It's applicable. You're walking along and now.
Right.
You get the wind and the trees and the moment your body, the whole ball of wax
including our ego. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes. You get it all, and you can watch it. You can watch the incarnation from your spiritual heart. You watch it, and you watch your the stream of consciousness, the stream of thoughts go by.
Right. And that's the practice of, so is that the practice of loving awareness?
Loving awareness is something you identify with down here. And loving awareness could be called the soul, maybe.
Right.
It could be called, it is reincarnated. And it's just incarnated in this incarnation, and this incarnation, the body and ego, all in this incarnation.
So we're not trying to reject ego. How do we work with our tendency to just get lost in that stream of thoughts and obsess about ourselves?
You go down to the witness and witness your thoughts. And the witness, you become identified with the witness, and you stop identifying with the thoughts.
Right. Thank you. So how do we cultivate that ability to rest in loving awareness in our soul or in our heart?
Well, it's love. It's love. And it's kind of love we've all yearned for.
Right.
This is the whole world is love.
Wow.
The whole world is one. You don't have to you don't have to go away from it because it's so charismatic.
That's something I just wrote an essay on Elephant Journal on our publication about that was a criticism of positivity, which is always very prevalent in new agey or spiritual communities. And positivity is wonderful, but I often find it's lacking a sense of humor, or lacking that playfulness or charisma you just mentioned, is lacking a sense of relaxation, that our fundamental being is loving awareness. Instead, you have to kind of gin yourself up and motivate yourself to almost trick yourself into feeling positive.
Yeah.
And I know Trungpa Rinpoche talked a lot about spiritual materialism. And I wanted personally to ask you about that, because you always seem to have a sense of humor and warmth. And that's how is that related to your practice?
My guru, Neem Karoli Baba, he had a wonderful sense of humor, and he had wonderful compassion and love. He loved me with unconditional love.
Yeah.
And that, you can't ask for more than that.
Yeah.
With humor.
Yeah. No, I think it's so delightful. I think it's a mark, and they say this in Christianity too, that there's a quote that I love in Christianity that says, "I know how close you are to God by how joyful you are." Something
Right.
like that.
Absolutely. And his joy is so deep.
Yeah.
Joy is so deep. The deepness of the spiritual heart, love compassion, wisdom, peace, and joy.
Yeah.
That's all in us. That's in us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually, I also wanted, because the election is coming up, I wanted to ask you if you felt it was important to be involved and to vote and that sort of thing. But in a way, that's sort of the answer, is that Republican or Democrat or whatever our view is, we all want that love. And we just wind up fighting over how to get there, kind of.
I think that the Republicans need the love more than us.
Right. Well, compassion is a sign of love, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're sort of, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think politically, we will come to an end to the ego, and the ego is nationalism also. And Obama, he in the third debate,
Oh, yeah.
he talked about the United Nations and bringing the world. And what we need is a oneness to people. And this going here to there,
Yeah.
this is individuality, and this is oneness.
But there's a place for both, right? You're not rejecting the intellect or the mind or individuality.
Of course.
Yeah.
You don't reject it. You don't make it identify with it.
Right. Right. Yeah, there's a wonderful speech by Elizabeth Warren, if you know her, where she said, you know, if you're an entrepreneur and I'm an entrepreneur and you're an entrepreneur, we've all done our own things. My mom is an entrepreneur in her own way. We have a lot to be proud of, but we had help from our community and our government and our fellow citizens and our family and our teachers. So anyway, just as an elder, I just wanted to get a sense from you, because I feel like frequently I'm involved in a organization called Yoga Votes. Sean Korn is involved in starting that, the yoga teacher, and they're trying to encourage spiritual and yoga communities to get more involved in politics, because there tends to be a kind of like, we don't want to be partisan.
That's very good. That's very good. Because I think we are all citizens, we're all egos, and we have to vote.
All right. You heard it here. So I have a few kind of random questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
I asked our readers what they would want to ask you, and the questions are all over. Some of them are maybe difficult or complicated, and some are very sort of silly. Yeah. So one that I particularly loved is from John Lendorf, and he wanted to know, what's your favorite kind of pie?
Pie?
Yeah.
Well, I'm on a anti-sugar diet,
Aha. That's a good answer.
and so I like pies that don't involve sugar.
So kind of like Michael Pollan, like real food, very simple fruit.
Yeah,
You have amazing fruit on Maui.
yeah, and,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. But so I like raw pies.
hmm Well, thank you. That's a good answer. We should all avoid a little bit more sugar and processed foods. So here's another silly one, and then I'll get harder. They won't be hard for you, but so from Allison Pfeiffer, she wanted to know if you could have any superpower like Superman, like a superhero.
If I had any,
If you could have one, what would it be and why?
oh, I, I'd like to, I'd like to, I'd like to all the souls I meet, I'd like to mirror their souls, and so they would realize they are spiritual beings not in a body.
Wow. That's a great one. I don't know if you remember the Sadhana of Mahamudra. Trungpa Rinpoche wrote it, and he said that the one of our tasks as people on the path, on the spiritual path, is to realize that our guru is manifesting who we fundamentally are inside. So not to worship or externalize the guru, but to realize we're the same.
Yes.
And that's sort of like what you just said.
You're not the same, but you're different, and you're inside. I play with my guru inside, but I realize that he's the Atman. He is he's one with it all, and I'm not yet one with it all.
Correct. Right. No, I actually was mistaken in what I said. I just remembered another talk when someone said, "So thank you for telling us that we're all enlightened." And he said, "Who said that? I'm not saying that." Like, we're on a path, but our teachers are pointing out fundamentally our Atman, or basic goodness. Is that correct?
That's right. And I think what you do is surrender. Surrender to your guru. You surrender to the guru inside. You surrender and you surrender, and so that you don't have to worry about are you doing things right.
Uh-huh. That's fascinating.
Because my guru has the responsibility for my life.
Uh-huh. Well, but so the trick is, you were fortunate to meet and to connect with a genuine guru. The trick is that we all have this tendency out of ego, right, to be theistic, to worship people, to put them on a pedestal. How do you know if your guru is worthy of surrendering to?
First of all, your guru is inside, not outside. You don't go to India, go get your guru. You go in your heart, and that is close to your intuition. The one where you think the wisdom that you know is coming from inside, and its wisdom comes from subjective, not objective knowledge.
It's tricky to know how to listen to intuition, right?
Yeah.
Have to practice that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I'm not very good at that. Well, one of the first questions from a wonderful friend and reader of Elephant, he has read your books for many years. He just wanted to know something very simple and personal. He wanted to know how you're doing, how your health is.
I am 81, and my health is pretty good. 81.
Yeah, you look good.
The health of my body, not health of me. Me is inside the body. And I am actually infinite. And I watch this body decay. And of course I had a stroke. How much?
Like 20 years ago, or 15?
15 years ago. And it's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. It's like the next step of my conscious life. I mean, the stroke gave me pause, and it robbed me from my
physical strength, or
it robbed me from my faith.
Oh. Huh.
And for about a while, I was faithless and started to depression and stuff like that. And everybody thought it was because it was a stroke, but it wasn't the stroke. It was and I was surrounded in the hospital with minds that were thinking that I was done for, and that the stroke was a terrible thing.
Right.
And when I looked at my guru's picture, I said to him, "Where were you when the stroke? Were you out to dinner or something?" And he said, "No." He said, "The stroke is grace. And that's what I've lived with all this time, is grace." the stroke itself is not grace. The stroke is nature, or it's my karma, but my reactions to the stroke is I have a positive way of looking at it. And I think that's grace.
Yeah, I can't remember your quote, but it's on your Facebook page right now, and I really loved it. I was, again, coming from the sort of cynical and humorous world of Buddhism, I was reading over your quotes, and you said that the challenges presented in our life, I mean, it sounds cliche when I say it because I haven't really realized it, but they're opportunities, or they're gifts of grace in some way.
Yeah.
But you actually went through it, and that was your experience.
Yes. And when I started to turn around to look at it as grace, it lightened me up so much. And I delved into the stroke world with such enthusiasm.
You mean about how to learn how to live with the stroke, or how to work with it?
Yeah.
You researched, and you found the community there of people who are working with it.
And it was different. Like, I give a lecture, and I'd have to look for a word. And I said to the audience, don't feel sorry for me, because that's wasting your time. In those quiet moments, meditate. And we can meditate. So I learned a lot about dependency. I was a terribly independent person. I had a book with Paul Gorman. How can I help? Can I help? I can help her. And now I think the book would be called "How Can You Help Me?"
It's funny, as the whole journey, and Pema Chodron talks about this, the whole journey of life and of the spiritual path, just every challenge is an opportunity, she says, to harden and to fight, or to soften and to learn.
Yes.
Something like that. And I love that, because it's always in times of challenge when things are good for me, I'm arrogant and everything's great.
Yep.
And
that's what the value of suffering is.
Right. It can be a gateway to compassion and to joy and to connection.
Right.
And love, like you were saying. Oh, it's great talking with you. Well, they wanted to know how your health was. Someone just, Linda Buzogani, wanted to just say thank you for making her laugh while she learned. As something all good teachers do. Here's another personal question. I hope it's okay. Darren Bueller wanted to know if your view of death and dying are changing as you enter stages that are increasingly centered around health or illness or mortality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. First of all, I rid my mind from thoughts of the past and the future. And I stay right in the now. And in the now, in someday, the now will be death. Now. What I've been doing with chutzpah, that's a Sanskrit word.
Right.
Thinking really about what happens after death. And it's wonderful stuff to see. I teach at Meta Institute in Scott, and there we are teaching people about how to be bedside to death. And it's wonderful because it turns out to you have to work on yourself to get down in here to really be of use to the dying person. It would really be of use. So that mirror the dying person's soul. And I think that sadhana is dying as sadhana and dying are the same thing.
Sadhana being singing or chanting practice?
Yeah, a practice. Yeah. And if you go to here, you get this death, this sadhana.
Yeah. Suzuki Roshi, who I'm sure you know or knew, would say that every single moment is a small death. And I don't know, somehow, if for those who know Suzuki Roshi, he probably said that laughing and smiling. It was kind of the good news.
I'll tell you, if you have death as your constant companion on life, you will be ready and eager to go to death.
But why eager? Because we're able to be of such service, hopefully. I mean, that's the joy of my life, that is to try and be of service to others.
But even the bodhisattva and the bodhisattva after death comes back to be of service.
Uh-huh. Right. Yeah.
That's my guru, and most of the lamas we know, certainly they are bodhisattvas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the bodhisattva vow, is you vow to return in whatever form until all sentient beings have attained enlightenment or omniscience or whatever.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
So I was curious, just for I don't know, living in Boulder, and for younger people who are in college. I mean, you had a very interesting, wild and crazy career as a professor, and working with Timothy Leary, and I think people look at you now with your books and your talking about peace and heart, and it all seems really warm and fuzzy, but you were a big troublemaker as well, right?
Well, I'll tell you, you're a troublemaker to those who are in the box.
Right.
You're not troublemaking, just in general.
Right.
You're trouble to institutions. Institutions box. I mean, Harvard was not warm to the mystics, and we were mystics.
Yeah.
And the mystics don't. Well, I was a professor at Harvard, and they wanted me to be a certain way, intellectual and know all. I knew all. I knew everything from here. I knew everything from books.
Right.
But then I started to feel what was inside of me, and I said, "I'm home. My God, I'm home." And I realized that I'd been learning and teaching psychology. None of it was inside. None of it was spiritual. And I just couldn't believe that I was teaching only the ego, and I was missing the real self.
Yeah, I love. There was a quote about your theism. You said you had a bar mitzvah, but you were disappointed at the hollowness of the experience, the essential hollowness, and you considered yourself an atheist, not that interested in religion. You said, "I didn't have one whiff of God until I took psychedelics."
Yeah. That's right.
So is that when you first touched your heart?
Yes.
You were saying?
Yes. Between psychology and my guru, psychedelics. The psychology, then to psychedelics, then to my guru. I believe me, I wouldn't think of the spiritual stuff from psychology. I wouldn't. That's not scientific.
Right.
And science is outer, and I wanted inner. And I remember being in the room with the president of Harvard when he was firing me. And I looked at him and said, "This poor slob, that he's going to spend all of his time in his intellect. What he's missing, I can't wait. I can't tell him." But he was
Right. Taking himself very seriously.
Yes.
Did you ever get a chance, once you became sort of famous for something very different than teaching psychology, did you ever get a chance to reconnect with him?
No, he was left Harvard, but Pusey. And I was 20 years later, after we got fired, there was a we would give, Tim and I were lecturing at Harvard. And we were introduced by Dave McClelland, who was my boss at Harvard. And after that, Dave got more and more spiritual.
Huh. 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 So I was also interested in your founding the Seva Foundation. Seva means service.
Yeah.
Along with Larry Brilliant and Wavy Gravy.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned the Meta Institute, where you provide training on mindful and compassionate care of the dying.
Yeah.
Healthcare is one of the many issues of this campaign as well. Why, as a society, is it important for us to do more for folks with developmental disabilities or who need some mental health care, or for all of us who need basic health care throughout our lives? Why is that a value that transcends partisan politics?
There is importance to a society help those in the society who need our help. Children and aged and sick people. I find my going to dying people and sitting by their bedside is great for my health,
Right.
and great for them too.
Yeah, I love that you had I can't quote you as well as you can, I'm sure, but you had a quote that said something like, "My helping other people helps me."
Yeah.
And it was something like that. I wish I
Yeah.
could find it. I just find that so important and inspiring, because it's not like there's some martyr complex or that we're holy spiritual people. Is that, like Eleanor Roosevelt said this, that her greatest joy in her life was when she stopped obsessing about herself and thought about others.
Yes. She was a wonderful woman.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I look up to her a lot. Yeah. I have a lot of questions. Yeah, you said, I help people as a way to work on myself. And I work on myself so that I can help people. To me, that's what the emerging game is all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I want to give my Ishtadev the monkey Hanuman. That is my way. His is the way of serving Ram, serving God, serving the Guru by working with other people and by serving. Not meditating, just serving. Not just serving.
and when you say the guru, there's so much confusion nowadays. I think a lot of it's healthy, but people don't want to be theistic and caught up in worshiping some sort of person they put on a pedestal, but at the same time, the guru is very important. So how do we sort of throw out the theism without throwing out the baby in the bathwater? Kind of.
The guru inside.
Yeah.
There's no question that guru is going to get caught in some ego traps.
Yeah.
And the guru is your deepest self. The guru, you don't worship the human, you're worshiping the Atman in that human. My guru, sure, he was in India, and I kneeled at his feet, but I was in the ocean of love that came from. Wow. Yum, 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 yum.
Yeah, that's a very healthy diet right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Ram Dass, it's I've had the honor to interview many wonderful people, Michael Pollan and Deepak Chopra, and my teacher Sakyam Mipam, and politicians and amazing people, and there's a very real feeling of honor and yum 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 pleasure in talking with you. So thank you for your time, and we'll all check out your books and your work and encourage that on Elephant Journal.
Okay, great.
Yeah, well thank you, and please take good care of yourself.
Good luck with Elephant Journal, and yeah, I hope it's well in this medium.
Yeah, we do most of our interviews in person, but you're a little bit a ways away. So
Okay.
yeah, I'll come visit. My good friend Casey Luber, I don't know if you remember her, but Casey visited you in the ocean and interviewed you a year or two ago. I don't remember. Anyway, well, thank you so much from Elephant
Okay.
Land. All right. Cheers.
Bless.
Yeah.
Bless.
Bless you. Thank you.